Good evening, everyone, and my colleagues and staff. Tonight I'm stepping in for the mayor. It seems not temporarily for the whole meeting, and I would like to call this meeting to order. This is our City Commission workshop, and that time is here again. And I want to thank staff for all the preparations that they've done. And hopefully I won't flub this meeting. So let me bang the gavel, and we can call this meeting to order. This is a workshop of the City Commission for Wednesday, June 30th, 2021. And please silence your phones, and the meeting will come to order. Could we have a roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Sachs.
Here.
Commissioner Hartman.
Here.
Commissioner McGurk. Here. Commissioner Cloney.
Here.
Thank you.
Very good. Everyone's here except our mayor. Now is the time for public participation. I hope we have lots. I don't see too many of our friendly faces here, but anything that anybody wants to say, please come to the podium and state your concerns, your case, kudos, criticisms. Good evening, sir. Please state your name and your address for the record.
Gregory Vello, 507 North Peninsula Avenue, near Smyrna Beach. Let's have a few prepared remarks. Closer, okay. Thank you, members of the New Smyrna Beach Maintenance Operations Committee, and thanks to Commissioner Michael Colodi. Zone 1 for forwarding our request to City Engineer Kyle Fagley for the resurfacing of the 500 block of North Peninsula Avenue, New Smyrna Beach. That's obviously where I live. Engineer Fagley has already sent a request to the civil engineers. Obviously, from doing a number of extensive research, we believe that the area, that block, should be resurfaced. From looking at the initial aerial view done by the county, which is online, shows a lot of cracks and uneven roads, as well as visible different road material from the rest of North Peninsula Avenue. Obviously, this is a main throughway to the Dog Beach. I actually had a traffic study done January 19th through January 26th, and actually 34,000, believe it or not, cars traveled northbound and southbound on this stretch. Roughly 5,000 cars per day in the winter. Obviously, with the new enhancements to the Dog Beach, I think that area is becoming more popular, and certainly it's the main roadway in and out. Obviously, you can take some other turns, but most people, especially the tourists, take Peninsula Avenue north and south. Essentially, this higher, obviously high speed, and then also a lot of volume has impacted the surface, and it continues to deteriorate it. The report was reviewed by the engineering department on February 3rd of 2029. It was also, according to the IMS report conducted in May of 2018, the Infrastructure Asset Management Company, they scored it a score of 49, which obviously is one of the lowest scores according to from what I understand. They indicated serious alligator cracks going all across the road. I've also personally spoken with Dan White of IMS, who conducted the study. And it appears that it's a lower part of the street as well, so there's a lot of flooding that goes on in that area when it rains heavily. Speaking with Kelly McQuillan of the NSB clerk's office, she did go through her entire database to look when the 500 block of North Peninsula was resurfaced, and this block is about 3 blocks north of the Flagler intersection. According to her research, she came up with nothing in her database, and she stated that probably had never been resurfaced since records have been kept, which I believe is a number of decades. Just a comment from Commissioner Colodi at some point said that North Beach roads have been neglected for a long time. Obviously, living there, I've seen it with the increase in traffic, and there's certainly a lot of structure problems with certainly the 500 block.
Sir, may I interrupt you?
Sure.
We're only allowing 3 minutes, so
Oh,
if you could wrap up your statement.
okay. And obviously, these reports are available to anyone who'd like to see them. Certainly, IMS is a third-party outfit that reviews all the roads, and certainly my request would be to put the 500 block of North Peninsula Avenue on the recommended list for resurfacing, and hopefully some of that budget money can be used for this purpose. Thank you.
Thanks for noticing.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Anyone else? Okay. So now would be the time that we'll begin our workshop. And we're going to have a submittal of the proposed fiscal year budget of 2021-2022. And our esteemed Finance Director, Natalia, do you have a presentation for us?
Thank you, Commissioner. So good evening, everyone. We're here today to present a proposed budget for fiscal year 2022. So proposed budget for fiscal 2022 is $87,459,217. It's an increase from this current year, which is fiscal 21, $73,103,000. And that includes capital projects, carry forwards, and budget revisions done up to date. General fund proposed budget is $34,794,000, which also an increase from current year of $33,644,000. So total 2021 tax roll increase is about 8%, which is $358 million. So that total increase will generate tax revenue, new dollars, is $1,273,000. It was calculated at the current rate, 3.7421. So taxable new construction is around $134 million, and also added property values through annexation is $1.5 million. So proposed budget includes $2.3 million in capital equipment and vehicles, and a little over $10 million in capital outlay and projects. The proposed budget includes two items from strategic plan that was approved by the Commission. It would be land development code update and benchmarking survey. That's approximately $60,000. It includes also Old Fort Wall, $900,000, Women's Club, $500,000. And we expect this money come from the state as grant, which was on approved list for fiscal 2022. Budget also includes operating contingency in city manager budget, something new we've done this year, we have not done before. We feel that city manager should have at least some funds at his disposal for emergency spending, which usually do happen during the fiscal year. We also have new requests for positions, about 13 approved new positions, and we reclassified current 6. Budget includes 3% increase to all general employees, or 5% increase to an employee whose salary is less than $31,200. So basically we have to go with that due to the fact that by 2026, a minimum wage would have to reach $15 per hour. So this is our first step to get to that point. At this point of time, we estimate health insurance increase for Florida Healthcare 4.5%, and for Blue Cross Blue Shield 7%. I don't believe we're done with negotiations yet. It's coming. I believe it's next week. Right? So next week we will have more solid numbers. This is a slide from Property Appraisal Office, which that was delivered to, I think, one of the association at the beginning of June. That shows basically, rate increases around the county, and that was done before Property Appraisal released numbers, July 1st. They released a bit earlier this year. So it's a little bit more than real numbers came up. As you see, New Smyrna Beach is at 9.1, but it actually came at a little bit, this is just values. So that's about right number. Taxable values, however, not at 10%, as you see us on the list at 7.89. But again, this information was available in the beginning of the June before they certified the tax roll. So millage rate price tag. So that shows basically breakdown for what categories combined, what makes up that total $1,273,000. So through annexations, we receive about $5,000, new construction $475,000, and for existing roll increase, we have $793,000. So that total would be, again, $1.2 million, but as you see below, it shows that new generated money will barely cover even our request for new equipment. So which is total $1.5 million just for the general fund. Property taxes chart. So this budget was prepared on the current millage rate, which is 3.7421. There is no change as you showed in the table. Now for our voted debt that was approved by taxpayers, 2005 obligation bonds and 2018, we can afford go but down, as you see, from 0.2813 to 0.2522, which is 10% decrease, and around the same percentage decrease for 2018 debt service, which would make total proposed millage rate 4.1262. We have several items on the list that were requested by departments for which funds were not available at this time. First on the list, it's rail crossing maintenance, $265,000. They were late with the estimate. We just received this amount early in, I believe it was on Monday. So that amount is not included, but we have to pay it, so it's priority one. Chief Coffin requested 4.5 position for police officers for basically presence at the western part of the city, and estimated cost would be $360,000. And you see that in terms of millage, 0.0778, priority one as well. Firefighters, 3 positions requested by fire department in the total $190,000, priority one. That request came as actually part of trying to save funds on overtime. Overtime in fire department very high this year, unfortunately. We seen very high increase amount, and if we add those 3 positions, we would see saving about $250,000. Pump house replacement, it's for sport complex. Currently they have only one on the site, and it's in very poor condition. Should something happen to it, basically they would have issues. So it will list it as priority 2. Again, as you see, millage shows the price tag. We have James Turf, total $99,000. It is possible CDBG grant. I believe money, we already have an application with Volusia County for about $95,000. So again, possibly we can receive the grant. Caterpillar grader, $250,000 for street department. That the one will be leasing, I believe, according to Khaled.
Go through the list, and then after that, I'm gonna go through in details of each one.
Okay. So skate park extension requested by Leisure. Again, there is eco grant possibility, and we expect also use some park impact fee on this one. Truck replacement, possible eco grant, and LED lights. We all know about this project, it's quite expensive. In terms of millage, it would be 3.3441. So again, possible grant. Total $3.8 million. Now several slides after that would show capital equipment requests that are funded. We have money for it. It's included in this proposed budget in front of you. So in your book, this list will be in capital project tab. I will not go through the whole list, just basically you see what's on it. Basically almost each department requested something this year, as usual. IT, building maintenance, police, fire, streets, leisure, parks, golf course, stormwater. Airport, building and inspection fund, parking sanitation fleet. So total equipment request $2,331,220. Again, this is funded. We have money for this list. Capital outlay requests. A lot of this project you recognize. We have a lot of workshops. That's basically what is in the budget 2022. Again, these projects are funded through general fund, of course, 221 loan for $14 million with region banks. So these are the amounts we expect to spend in 2022. So total capital outlay, $10 million. So total for all proposed funded capital is $12,363,670. Again, this list in your book in capital project tab. That's very small. I apologize for that. We should have. Again, it's in your book. It's expenses. So basically, it shows. Yeah, we should have worked on colors better a little bit. So anyway, it's $87 million, and you see by category, and you see increases for each. Personnel, operating, capital, debt service, and transfers. Increase in each category. Capital outlay, debt service, we expect on new loan pay around $1 million next year. Again, it depends how much we'll be doing drawdown in fiscal 22 with region banks. And of course, our existing debt. So in summary, it's again, as usual, budget season is very busy season. July 29th, we all come back for City Commission budget workshop to set a tentative general fund millage, operating millage, and debt service millage. So again, general fund proposed 3.7421, which is existing rate right now. Debt service millage 0.2522 and 0.1319. So TRIM notices due to the state on August 4th. August 19th, we have budget workshops when departments will be presenting their budgets to you for your review and basically questions. And public hearings are scheduled this year, September 15th and September 28th. And that concludes my presentation.
Natalia, if you could go to the slide that it shows the unfunded items and millage cost, please. So, you just had it before. Right there. When we did the budgets, we meet with each department separately. They provide us requests of their, whether it's a capital item, capital equipment, or any new item to be included in the budget. So we try to incorporate all these items into the budget. However, when we get to, we were trying to meet the current millage as much as possible, even lower. But when we got to the 3.7421, all these items that you see on this list, it's, I call it the wish list, but we tried to put it on a priority. So some of them came in after the budget was prepared. Like, for example, if you look at the railroad crossing, we always try to get with FEC to provide the maintenance of the crossings prior to our budget. But what happened, I guess, because of their budget, so they provided this, I think, this request on Monday. So that is a must. There is no way to get around it. So it's the $265,000 for the crossing. The police officers, the 4.5, that was at the request of the commission at the last city commission meeting. I've talked to the chief, and he determined that 4.5 officers are needed. The good thing about it, if we add these 4.5 police officers, all the initial cost, not the salaries, but the initial cost will be coming out of his impact fees, because it's a new officer, so their equipment, their vehicles, and so forth. As far as the firefighters, the fire chief has approached me where we were evaluating the overtime. And by the analysis that he did, it looks like if we hire additional 3 firefighters, we actually will save close to $45,000 in terms of the difference between the new firefighters and overtime. So that made sense that if we do that, that will be the saving on the 3 additional firefighters. The pump house replacement, I think we'll be able to probably, talking to David Ray, that's something that it's much needed at the sport complex, that we probably could find some money from this year funding that will be able to replace it. If not, we'll find some money to do that. The Babe James turf, again, that it was on the wish list. But the good thing about it, it's there is a CDBG grant for $95,000. So I think that's a possibility there that we could do that project. So this project will come out of this list. The grader, that's probably, it's one of the sensitive issues. Right now, we have a grader that we lease. The lease expires on September 30th of this year. So our options to buy it outright for $250,000, or we could lease it for 2 years at $45,000 a year, and then at the end of the 2-year lease, we could purchase the grader for $165,000. The other option is lease it for 5 years and then buy it right out after the 5 years for close to just over $100,000. Since the budgets right now, it seems like to add that much into the budgets, it probably would not be my recommendation at this point. I think my recommendation would be to go for the 2-year lease at $45,000, and then after the 2 years, purchase it for the $165,000. I think we'll end up paying probably close to $12,000 in terms of interest. The next item is the skate park extension. There's a possibility there for an ECHO grant, plus using a matching fund from our parks impact fees. So there is a possibility for that one. I think right now we have, how much do we have in our parks impact fee? Close to over 200,000.
$230,000.
200.
30.
Okay.
You talk about park fee. Impact fee,
Yeah. The next item is the track replacement at the sport complex. That's an item that it's been on the books for some time, but the cost is just, it's not as cheap. So it comes at a price tag of $400,000. That would not be a recommendation at this point unless if the commission wishes to do that. Same thing as the LED lights at the sport complex. It's a 1.6. My suggestion and recommendation to probably look at it for either next year or the year after. But we really try to, there's quite a few positions that were added through this year. Most departments, they're short in staff, so we were trying to accommodate in some areas. I'm sure that they could ask for more staff at this point, but we're trying to limit the amount of requests just to kind of meet the standard service at this point, so. Any questions? I'll be more than happy to answer, Mayor.
I got a bunch of questions.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I've got a number of questions. Thank you both for the update. The millage rate sheet where you talk about the increase from new construction, is that both residential and commercial?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So going down to the sheet we were just talking about, remind me, the railway crossing maintenance, what is that?
That's when the FEC, they go in and they do any maintenance on the crossing. Now, if you go on Mary Avenue, they just did that this year. So they do the maintenance on the crossing itself, crossing our streets, and then we have to pay to them in order for them to do the repair.
Yeah, run that. I got the whole point where FEC does the maintenance. Where do we come in with 200? What
Because
exactly are
it's
we
our
doing?
roads.
So they gotta make a repair to their facility.
Well, they make a repair to, I guess, to the approaches.
Okay, that's our responsibility, not theirs?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Police officers, 4.5 police officers, remind me, is that where we wanted to get to, or is that additional to once we get to where we wanted?
No, that's an additional to what we have now.
No, I know. We had a certain number we would like to get at. Is the 4.5 officers that number ultimately we would like to get at? So
I don't think so, but the chief will, come on, Chief.
So Chief, we've talked a lot, there's a lot of different circumstances we talk about. How many you would like, how many we have, how many we are gonna bring in. So I get a little confused on what exactly that 4.5 represents in that pecking order. As ideally as what you would like, or getting back to where you felt you had a good full staff.
This would be a step in that direction. So what we have right now is 53 authorized, and if we add another 4 positions, it'll allow us to split the western zone, which is mostly Venetian Bay and Coastal Woods, that area out there.
Right.
To give those folks a little bit more responsiveness, and based on the increase in population, obviously the demand and services are increasing. So we're anticipating that. Ultimately, we're gonna need to split the beachside zone too, but we would not ask for that the same year.
Okay, so 53 authorized. The 4.5 is working towards that 53?
In addition to 53, so that'll put us at 57. And then ultimately, we would want to split the beachside zone as well, so.
Okay. So
when we
how
get-
many do we have now?
How many actual officers do we
Yeah,
have
How
now?
many officers now?
So we're 6 short now. I have 5 people in school. So,
Yeah.
so in terms of being on paper, I have 1 vacancy.
Okay, so when we're saying you're authorized for 53, and you're authorized for 53,
We're
you
at
have
47
how
right
many,
now.
but how many are you bringing in?
How many do I need ultimately? I think for
So-
the demand on service right now, if we stay at 61,000 plus, we're on pace right now to answer more than 61,000 calls again this year.
Right.
So in order to do that, I think what we need to be is the 4.5, which the half is really for vacation and sick and stuff like that.
Sure.
So the 4 would put us at 57, and then the other 4 that we would come back at some point, if not in the following year budget, maybe the year budget after that, depending on what the demand for service is at that time, we would be looking at 61. That's really where we need to be right now.
Okay, so go back to the commission meeting, the last commission meeting during comments, I brought up that issue and circumstance we had on Beachside. And I said that my concern is that we're understaffed for the big picture of the city.
Yes, sir.
I don't want us to be caught with our pants down, going forward as Central Florida grows. There's a lot of demands. So that's what I'm trying to figure out is where we're at, where you would like to be, and then what do you, in my mind, what do we need in addition? So I'm just trying to get an idea of how that's gonna work out long-term with the budget. You'd like to be at 61.
Yes, sir.
The 61, and I know I'm asking you to think for me, the 61 addressed my concerns that I have going forward on whether or not we have enough officers to deal with the, not just the city of 25,000 people, but all the extracurriculars that we have to deal with.
To answer your question, yes, as we stand here right now. So if the demand for service goes above what we think it may be,
Yeah.
in other words, if it rises to 64, 65,000 calls a year, then we have to reevaluate that. So what I'm looking at now is to kind of plug the hole and say that, because particularly as we go way out west or on beachside, typically I have to move officers out of their normal zones to, you know, respond to calls over there. So if I have to pull a guy that's supposedly down here in the historic area, and I have to send him all the way out there to Venetian Bay to answer a call out there, then not only does it take him out of here, but then there's driving time.
Okay, how many officers do we have now?
Right now, we're sitting at 47.
Okay, and 61 is where you think that you would, at least today, be able to satisfy
Right.
my concern of the kind of staffing that, and response that I would like to see us be able to deal with.
Yes, sir. But stay with the numbers that were authorized. So we have minimum staffing. So even though we're at 47, we will always staff at 53, which is where we are right now. We have minimum staffing both for during the week and on the weekends. And they change. During the week, we will work one short. On the weekends, we need to be full staff. So although we have 47 people, we're always staffing for 53.
Okay, so I don't wanna, beat this thing to death today, just the initial, I'll give you a call, we'll meet, and we'll kinda hash out.
Yes,
So
sir.
you can understand where my head is and going forward, because I want a big picture as to where I think we need to be, and, because I think it's important where I start prioritizing how we're gonna fund stuff, but thank you very much.
And I think that what we need to look at is when we talk about a strategic vision for staffing, as the city starts to grow, that's going to change beyond 3 years. I don't think we can make an accurate assumption beyond 3 years.
Thank you,
Okay.
all right.
Don't leave.
Hang on.
Hey, step there.
You're going to keep me up here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Jason, we'll come back to you. Let's-
Yeah, no
Go
problem,
ahead.
sure.
Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The 360,000, that includes their vehicles?
No, sir. As city manager stated earlier, since these are new positions, I'll be asking for the capital and the regular equipment money to staff them, from cars to computers to uniforms to all their gear and everything, to come out of impact fee money.
Okay.
So what this will cover will be salary and benefits.
So this is just salary and benefits?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's all?
Okay,
All right,
good.
hang on, I got one while you're here,
Oh,
since
my
you're
gosh.
here. In the report, and I'm just kind of digesting this because we got a lot of information, but in the report here, it has budgeted civilian members, and it looks like we've been running at like 22 in FY 18, 19, 19, 20, and then it jumps to 34 in 2021. Is that some kind of a reassignment to you all? We didn't hire 14 new people or whatever, right?
I think that would account for the parking staff that's there, and some of those would be part-time.
Yeah.
Okay.
it would
So
be
I think
included
the
in
number of bodies isn't actually what the number of staffing is, so there'll be 2 bodies for every 1 position.
Are you
Okay.
looking at police department?
Yep, so in
Mayor?
police department, in the
Yeah.
like the second page in the book, we have the performance indicators, organizational. So then if we go to like the 4th line down of actual civilian FTEs, and again, we go from 15.5 to 22, and then the proposed is 28. So that says an addition of 6 FTEs on the civilian side. Again, is that truly new positions, or is that just reorging? It was over here and now it's in here?
I believe the statistics comes from police department, so.
I think it's a parking
It's a
ambassador.
parking
I think it is too, because we're not adding, we're not asking for any new civilian
Yeah.
positions.
That's why I didn't see that,
Yeah.
but yeah, this number was, okay.
Yeah.
All right, well,
But probably
back
it's a typo because we have added recently, I don't know, 2 or 3 parking ambassadors.
Right, and then we still have the budgeted for the community service aid positions
Yeah.
that we're presently staffing now.
okay,
But that was in last year's budget.
Yeah.
all right. Any other questions for Chief, and then we can always call him back up, but while he's here. All right, hearing none. Thank you. Back to you, Jason.
All right, the next one, fire chief.
Fire
Thank
chief.
you. Again, so I see here that there's 3 requested additional staff. Is this related to transport, or tell me?
It's not related to transport at all. All the request is really for is to help offset overtime cost. The methodology I used to determine the cost of overtime versus the cost of the employees did not include COVID. So if you were to just look at that and say, your overtime costs are substantial because of COVID, I actually took that out of the methodology. We're looking at about a $43,000 savings by bringing on 3 entry-level firefighters instead of filling those minimum positions with overtime at time and a half.
All right,
So-
awesome, thank you. What is Babe James for $99,000?
I guess the new splash pad that they had in the playground, they had some kind of mulch, and what's happening, it's going into the splash pad. So they wanted to put this turf there to protect it.
Okay.
I mean, you know,
Because
it's
it's
not our
affecting
top
the
priority, but it's,
This
but
last
that's what
one,
that is.
A skate park extension.
Which one?
Skate park
Okay.
extension. Maybe, as I recall, talking with Katie Kelsey and where this was, what she was trying to put together, she was looking for 100,000 from us.
Well, I
But
think,
We're talking, at some point, I think that was like the last number in my head, and now we're talking 500,000, so I was just looking for some clarification.
what I remember, Commissioner, that she wanted to do fundraising, I think she was looking at, she said 50, possibly 100 that she will come up with. But the entire expansion of the skate park, it looks like in the $500,000. There's a possibility of an eco grant. The problem is they have not opened the cycle for the eco grant at this point. So it's hard to determine whether we could apply or not, but if the cycle is open, then we will apply for it. And then also we have some parks impact fee that we'll be able to use. So,
Okay, so that all sounds great, but for some reason in my head, it was flip-flop. She was looking for 50 to 100 from us, and she was gonna be able to put in and then find it, but that may be just my recollection, so, thank you. The track replacement, terrible shape, every time we're out there for some event. The mayor reminds me how embarrassing it is. So remind me, the track is there for student athletes at the high school, right?
yes.
What is the role of the school board in this for our sports complex? I've kind of never really understood that dynamic.
The school board, they only have an agreement with us to use the football field and the bleachers.
Okay.
And I don't know if you were in the commission at the time when we replaced the bleachers.
Yes.
But-
That, yes.
That cost almost came, just most of it is from the city. They've been asking David about the replacement of the track. Apparently, they have some, the track team, and also there is tournaments sometimes that they ask David to use, but we don't have the track available because of the condition of it.
Yeah.
So,
So I guess I'm just trying to reconcile in my head how the school board has a school that has a track team, but they're not paying for the track that they use. I mean, at least some kind of partnership on that would make sense, but I'm sure I'm not the first or the 100th person to ask this question. So clearly there's a long history there where the city picks up the tabs on that. That's something I find interesting, and I may go on my own personal little venture to find out what's going on from our school board representative on that. Thank you, that's all I had.
I support that venture. I asked the same question the other day. I don't think it was of David, but somebody, I went to an event supporting the track athletes, the cross-country runners. And somebody approached me about the track. And I said, look, I've brought it up. And I asked him, I said, by the way, where's the school at? I mean, because it's not just New Smyrna student. I mean, you go and shake the hands of these students and ask them where they live, and it's New Smyrna, Edgewater, Oak Hill, surrounding areas. Like, it's not all New Smyrna taxpayers. So there's an element of partnership that is probably lacking to me.
That's a good point. I didn't think about the city portion of the partnership.
Yeah, so even if it is funded by cities versus school board, I feel like we probably have an opportunity to collaborate a bit more, look at the student population, pro rata that somehow. I mean, we just funded entirely from us and ECHO, so that is Volusia County, for the turf. But, so anyway, other comments, questions?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I wonder, does anybody recall having, not necessarily a discussion with the school board, but we having a discussion of engaging the school board to hopefully help with funding of repairs, other incidentals to the field, because they use it so much? And should we, like you said, maybe just go back and talk again?
There's probably some do we collect charges from them? Like when expound on this relationship a bit before we get too far in the weeds.
So part of the agreement that we have with the school board, with the whole bleacher replacement, is they play all their outdoor activities out there free of charge for 10 years. So essentially they prepaid all their fees to help us get the bleachers. I believe it ends either the 24-25 school year or the 25-26 school year. I'd have to double check the dates.
Mm-hmm.
But there is an option to open up negotiations 2 to 3 years prior to it ending, to potentially extend the agreement.
But at that time, was there a specific events that they were gonna do, or we just carte blanche open it to any event or any sporting event they wanted to do?
Essentially, so that right now they do football, soccer, flag football, baseball, and softball, and cross country out there.
But we could, I mean, we had dialogue with them, I guess, when we did the bleachers. I guess we could go back to them and have a new dialogue. But because of their share on the bleachers, I think that kind of gave them I think they paid, if I'm not mistaken, at the time, $500,000.
Yes.
So it kind of gave them, I guess, a free pass of using the sport complex, probably 10 years. I think we did it in 2014 or 2015.
Right.
All right, so probably, let's not recreate the history today. I think the concern of the commission is, is there an opportunity to look at partnerships with possibly other cities versus New Smyrna taxpayers funding it?
Yes.
To the extent ECHO or some kind of county initiatives involved, that's positive for me, because that is more taxpayers than just us. New Smyrnians, we are hit twice a little bit, but, so I think that's where we're going with this, is just making sure we're current on that. If there's opportunities to push from the school board, and then we can, as individual electeds, we can talk to current and even candidate officials for school board, so. All right, thank you, David. Don't go far, let me come back. Other questions, comments on the budget? Go
I
ahead.
have a list of questions, but
Yeah,
do you
this
want to
is
go
it.
slide by slide, or do you want to just each
Let's just kind of go
member,
person
or-
by person, that's probably easiest, I guess, so go for it.
Okay, on the first slide, second slide, the overview. The $10 million in capital outlay, is some of that not reimbursable?
Yes.
Okay.
So some of those projects would be, let me go to the list, that would be better.
So do we know how much of that will be reimbursable to us, either through FDOT or?
Yes, I don't know at this moment. You see, it depends how projects will go. So, Fifth Street Bridge, right? Partially reimbursed by FDOT. Same with Barracuda. So they will be reimbursable. Stormwater for $2 million, that will be reimbursable by FEMA. So
Chris,
they
a lot of-
are.
A lot of my
Mhm.
questions are just information kind of stuff, so that the
Mhm.
public understands
Of course.
when they see there's $10 million outlay, that's not necessarily our total cost at the end of the project.
Right, that's when
That's-
that's when we have funding, it shows loan, but again, loan was, again, $14 million, and about 8 or 9 of this would be reimbursable. So
Okay.
again, it goes from project to project, but yes, it's correct.
What we'll do, Commissioner Hartman, at the 29th, we will have, with this slide, to show you, like, here's the total cost, but then whether it's a loan, whether it's a reimbursement from DOT or FEMA.
Yeah, I understand that.
No, no,
but
I'm
we
saying
just went
we'll
out
do
to the
that.
public today.
I'm saying we're gonna do that.
Yeah, so I want to make sure that they understand
Mhm.
that, you know, there is some reimbursable cost in that.
Yeah, for us, there's so much information goes into it, it's so hard to put in
Yeah.
all these slides, and that's why we put a loan, understanding that loan, a lot of this will be reimbursed by granting agencies.
Okay, that's another question, so. Under the property tax slide, on page 7,
This one?
yes. I don't see anything for the new loan that we just approved. Will we not have debt service?
Go back one slide.
Back up one. Or go forward one. Nope, go forward.
Okay, let me go.
The one that had the millage rate on it.
That's right.
One more, there we
That's
go.
it.
That one?
This one, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it was not voted debt, remember? We only have general obligation here, which is voted debt. This is general obligation bonds. You will not see any other debt on these slides
Okay.
because we don't use, it's not on tax roll.
But-
Mhm.
But we're gonna have to pay that loan.
We are.
So, I mean, how do we,
General
You see,
operating.
this will be non-ad valorem. This is ad valorem
Okay.
only.
all right. All right, okay. Understand now. The next slide. The pump house replacement, where'd David go? Oh, that's not just the pump house, that's the actual pumping motor process, the whole 9 yards, right?
Yes, that's everything from the pond to getting it out to
Right.
all the fields.
But when I read pump house
Yeah, that's
replacement, are we just replacing the building over it? We're not, we're doing the whole, the pump and
Right.
everything, all the associated,
Right.
okay. Just so that it's clear out there. Capital equipment request funded? This has always been a pet peeve of mine. We have pickup trucks, and you can buy 2 cheaper than you can buy 1. Because if, it's $28,000 for 1 crew cab, but we're buying 2 crew cabs for parks at $50,000. These numbers just don't add up to me. So, going forward, as we go on,
Mhm.
I would like to see that, because if I can buy 1 truck for 28,000, is that the right one? No, the next slide. There we go. If I can buy 1 crew cab for 28,000, but I can buy 2 crew cabs for the Parks Department for 50, that puts them at 25,000 apiece.
Mhm.
So, where's the difference here?
You see, all the requests come from fleet, and they look at state contracts, they look at what vehicles they require.
So, what I would like to see going forward
Mhm.
is possibly Garrett saying a pickup truck is X number of dollars. If we can define that more, so we're consistent when we present these types of material to
Mhm.
the public and to us, that we're consistent with what we put on paper. If a pickup truck, is a crew cab pickup truck 28,000 or is it 25,000? And I understand there may be some caveats as, you know, one may have a towing package, not have, but I would, you know, would like to see that with these abbreviated reports especially, that there's some consistency in that, you know, so that the public can understand that. You follow me?
I do. I have the unique privilege of literally, I was late because I was in a car dealership all day getting a new car. And so when I see that kind of discrepancy, I assume, I mean, you know, you can change the paint color, it felt like, and you know, go up or down a few $100s. So I feel like this is just,
Right.
streets may need the 4x4 package and parks doesn't, but they need a pump on the, you know, like, you know, if it were 10 or 15,000, I start asking some serious questions. At 3,000, I assume that's an options package.
Right.
Because again, it felt like, I walked from one room to the other and the price of the car went up by $3,000, I felt, so.
And that's what, I mean, what's what the detail's gonna
Yeah.
show, but, you know, it'd be, I think for the public, if we're consistent in these numbers, it presents a better product.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just if I may, Commissioner, I think what happened is when the department, they submit the request, right? So the request becomes separate from each department. So when they list this, it doesn't mean that, so this is what the price for one, right? But
Right.
when he goes and he buys them, he's gonna buy the three.
Right.
So the cost would not be 28,000, it's gonna be based on the two or the three that they have. But when the request came, they look at the requests, how much is it for one truck? It's $28,000. So when they put it on this list, that's what they're showing. And I understand it's somebody looking at it, but that's what they're showing is each department is listing what they're buying.
Right. I would, but if he just said every pickup truck is 30,000, when you put it in this format, then we're consistent across the board. If when we actually get into this and/or actually buy it, it's less than that, then we have leftover money.
And you know, the way it works, we get forms, we request for everything you see here. We get requests from departments for vehicles, for equipment, for capital projects, and they list specifications, why and what. So there is more detail goes in. So one truck very different from another. It depends what it does and how departments ask for it, what it has to do for them.
Right.
But we have detailed information for all of this, so they would not be on this list if we did not get it.
Okay. Under the golf course sprayer, was this something that was in I remember this from last year, I think. Was this in last year's budget and just didn't get purchased, or did we purchase one for the sports complex and not the golf course?
Is it capital project or equipment?
Capital equipment request funded.
It's
See, no,
the back one,
go back one,
just saw it, right there,
right there.
Oh,
third,
okay.
fourth on the bottom.
Yeah. See the chemical sprayer?
Yeah, it's a different sprayer from the one from last year. The one from last year was a smaller, it can kind of get in and around certain things. This one is going to be a more broad base, be able to do, you know, the entire fairway.
Okay. Because I remember there was one
Right.
last year, and I just did we not fund it because of COVID or what? Didn't purchase it
It was
or whatever?
purchased.
Or is this, that was my question. Is this a repeat or is a new one? Okay.
Addition.
So with the capital outlay request funded, this is where, you know, some of these things are going to have reimbursements attached with it, so. Okay.
Yes.
The next slide. The Women's Club is a loan grant, but isn't the Old Fort Wall also a loan grant?
We put a loan because if you recall, Mark Galvin from Hilltop was here when we were discussing potential second loan.
Right,
And at the time, we asked him to add Women's Club on the list.
okay,
So during public meeting. Now, as we know, state approved those two projects we expect. So that's why we put slash.
okay,
We're very conservative in finance. If we don't see agreement yet, so because it was discussed as a potential loan, and now we think it's a grant, we just left loan as that, as such.
but at some point in time, we may also have to use funding for the Old Fort Park if we move forward with that, okay?
Correct. At this point of time, we expect full, you know, reimbursement.
All right, I That's all the questions I had, thanks.
Sure.
All right,
Mr. Mayor,
go for
I
it.
have a few.
Yep.
Natalia, if you please, could you help me understand, under the debt service fund, there's a 245.76% increase, or, I'm sorry, change. Is that because we borrowed money and now it's in the plus?
No, what happens, the way we pay debt down, those payments somewhat stay the same, they don't change. But our taxable value increases usually. So what it's now, we went from $4.5 billion to 4.9. So basically, because amount of required or obligation stay the same annually, we can afford go down. So basically, the way we calculate it, we take our obligation for fiscal '22, we take our new taxable value, and we apply what rate would bring us that required amount to pay principal and interest for upcoming year. And we do that basically exercise yearly. That's what allow us really go down on voted debt.
Okay. I think I understand it a little better. I had a question about carryovers. Are carryover amounts included in these? Let's say a project doesn't get completed in '21.
Yes,
The
they
amounts
are.
that we see here are reflected as well?
Yes, that's why we come to you, to the commission, and we include that in amendments, yes.
Okay. I don't know if, it would probably be a department head, but I had one question about costs on a bathroom for the marina was about $100,000. And I'm like, I wish I had a bathroom like that. And then there was another cost that was really high. So, I don't know, is that a discussion that we should have with department heads? I think.
I mean, he can probably
Some
speak to it now, or if he
questions.
can't, city manager can bring in
Yeah.
whoever is needed if they can't
If-
speak to it now. Go ahead.
If you recall, Vice Mayor, we put the project out to bid. I think the estimate was at the time $65,000 for the restroom.
It's for a whole building, right? Or
No,
like
no,
an
no,
addition to a
just the
building?
restroom inside, because there is when it was built in 2004. So that was the budget for it. It came out, I think it's like $300,000. That was one bid. So with this now, there is some other work associated with this. So it's not just the restroom. They want to do like a decking out to extend the deck. And then there is a utility room that needs to be reworked where they do I guess, like a laundry. So $100,000 comparing to the $300,000 that we had in the bid the first time, construction is just going crazy right now.
Khalid, would you mind answering my question? Solar, there was something on solar for Smith Street. Are we considering doing anything?
On Smith Street?
Yes.
Not at this point, because if you remember, we will be relocating the building maintenance up to maintenance operations. So right now, we're working on a draft RFP to either sell or lease that entire Smith Street property. So there is no solar panel on Smith Street.
Okay.
It would fall down if we put solar on top of it.
Yeah.
It'll be a solar fallout.
Yeah, right.
So we'll maintain no city facilities at all on Smith Street if it goes for RFP?
As soon as we move to maintenance operation, yes, sir.
Please bear with me one
Sure.
second.
No, go ahead.
I did actually see that, and I'm like,
The Smith Street thing in here?
yes.
I don't remember, I just looked for it, I didn't see it. If I find it, I'll let you know.
It's a capital outlay request.
Yes. Is anybody familiar with it? I'm at a loss.
I'm obviously not, oh, capital outlay request, Smith Street store, yeah, okay, yeah. Capital project, Smith Street store, 300,000
I
is
think
a loan.
it's, probably it should be maintenance operation.
Yeah, I think that was for the maintenance ops roof, when they redo the roof,
One
Yeah.
more down?
I
to do
think
the
it's,
solar, so,
One more down?
just mistagged.
Oh, so
Yeah, that's
when
the
it's
one
at
that the
new
commission they
location-
added.
Yeah,
Third from the bottom there.
Okay.
So that's the new location. Okay, good catch, good catch.
That was, again, that was potential loan number 2 discussion. I think also we had another $50,000 this current year budget. This is something different.
Thank you. Thank
Is
you,
that
Mr.
it?
Mayor, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
sorry.
I was through.
I thought you were still
Yeah, I'm
looking for
sorry.
your next question. Commissioner Colodi.
Well, we went through a different process this year with the various departments, which I thought went very well. I must say that I see less things on this list for unfunded, and in general, that really concerned me. I don't think I have enough information yet to determine whether tax bills will go up or down for our existing residents. I will work with the staff to get that information. We're talking about maintaining the millage rate as it is. I read in the newspaper that county is considering rollback rates. So I know we've had a very fluid year for both expenses and incomes from the federal government. So I'm not prepared right now to really make too many comments. I got a big book here that I will pick apart. But in general, if I see that the existing homeowners are not facing increases in the amount of their taxes significantly just because the value of their homes have gone up, I could probably go along with a lot of this. But I got to figure that out yet and make that clear in my own mind what that effect is going to be. And I don't think we have the information in front of us now. It's too soon.
Okay.
That's my comments.
All right. Along that same line, because that's kind of where, so the past, I think 2 years, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have, to me, shot the perfect budget gap, which is we have managed to, we haven't gone for rollback, but rollback to me is a kind of an erroneous target because you're trying to service more, but trying to use the same amount to service more and more growth. And so I don't know that getting to rollback is an achievable target. What I do like though is to be able to say that we're using some of the, between annexation, new construction, we're using those monies to fund, some of the new projects. And so we have been able to, I think last year my tax bill, which is the one I look at closest, went, the New Smyrna portion, and remembering we're only 22-ish% of the total, so there's a lot of stuff outside of our control, but the New Smyrna portion included all the voted debt, went slightly down by a couple of dollars. Even though my value had gone up, it went down by a couple of dollars. I'm happy with that. I don't care who's sitting in these seats. If they can say, hey, it's basically you're paying about the same. Yes, we didn't go to rollback. We've expanded our police force. We've funded parks. We funded these other things. But your taxes aren't going dramatically up. But we're also not trying to dramatically slash them, because you will pay that piper eventually. If we allow deferred maintenance to grow and other things, you will pay that. You will pay that eventually. And that's the debate they're having at the county now. Is it looks great politically in other ways to try to go to rollback, but you're just really saddling some future commission with those issues. They will eventually have to deal with some of these things. So I like to see us trying to angle for that kind of approach, where we're saying we're not quite to rollback maybe, we're capturing some of the growth and the new construction, But for the average New Smyrna resident, your taxes are staying about, your New Smyrna taxes are staying about flat, even though your property values went up and some other things. So I agree with my colleague. I don't know that we have, I can't quite piece that out exactly. I know we've had presentations before that's kind of very clear. So I look forward to seeing that presentation, because that'll help me to make that case.
Mr. Mayor,
Sure.
I didn't want to imply that I expected we'll go to rollback, because that's unrealistic for a growing town.
Right.
Doesn't
Okay,
happen.
yeah,
You
and I
got-
wasn't saying you were implying that. My apologies.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, the audience might have thought that.
Okay, yeah, good clarification.
You have an amount of expenses we have, you have inflation expenses, and you have new services you need, as explained by both chiefs. So there has to be an increase in that. Does it have to be to our current rate? I don't know yet, because
Right.
we don't know. I voted against both of the last two budgets. I would love to support a budget here. So if we can work towards a goal in that direction, I would be pleased, and I think all citizens would also.
I will tell you, when we haven't been able to be out in the public as much, but I have never, that I remember, and I've stood in front of, at this point, thousands of people across this town at different community events, 25 here and there, 100 or 200 here and there. They have brought me every issue, from roosters on the road to, mooring fields and everything else. The one that I've never heard is somebody walking up saying, I just pay too much to live here. I really wish you'd focus on cutting our taxes. They bring me other problems that will cost money to solve. I want more police officers. I want more of this. I want more of that. Nobody has ever once come up to me and said, I feel like I pay too much to live in your town. I want you to focus on cutting property taxes. They haven't even danced around that issue. Now, I'm not saying that gives us license to be whatever, but I'm saying what I'm hearing from the residents we represent is solve these issues or focus on these issues, things like the increase in police, the focus on public safety, the kind of things that we're addressing is, I believe, what the residents are wanting us to address. So I think we're heading in a good direction. That being said, a couple of quick questions and things that I'm just going to put on the radar just to kind of call out, that I'm going to ask staff to give me some more information, and while they're doing it, they may want to share with the rest of the commission. And I've had this book for a total of like 45 minutes, and most of it I've been trying to listen, so I haven't gone through it entirely. I do appreciate all the hard work that went into it. Remind me our fiscal year. When does it begin?
I'm sorry?
Our fiscal year, when does it begin? When does this budget kick in?
October 1st.
October
October
1st?
1st,
All right,
yes.
October 1st to September 30th, that's
Right,
the
right.
fiscal year.
okay. Okay, so a couple of things that jumped out at me. The city manager, the contingency fund, so when you look at the operating expenses, you obviously see this huge increase. I tend to agree with you. That's really, when I was doing budgeting, we called that just embracing reality. When you look at historics, that's what has happened. There have been things that have come up, and you're finding the money from somewhere. This is just saying, let's embrace that reality, let's put that in the budget, let's acknowledge it's gonna happen and plan for it to happen, versus sticking our head in the sand and pretending it's not, and then it does anyway, because it does every year. So I can support that. My challenge to you all is, make sure we're not double dipping that, meaning, very, very common is, there's requests for items in the budget, and then maybe it's a one-time item, or maybe it's a 2 or 3 year item. Those are the hardest ones. And then in 2 or 3 years, that budget's still there. Nobody ever I've never once had a department head, one time in my entire career, I had a department head call me and say, hey, I don't need this anymore. Like, you'd given it to me for this, it was 3 years ago, I don't need it anymore. Here's the money back. I'm not saying they're blowing it, I'm just saying that it tends to kind of get buried in that department. So to the extent we add the money there, let's be very careful, and let's try to, talk to staff and say, what have we used, where have we put that money in past? And is it money we can go pull out of a few other places to try to partially offset? Another one that jumped out, in economics, business and economic development, I noticed a fairly large increase, looks like about 100K under professional services line, so it's like a consultant line, about 110K. I don't know if I support it or not. I would just like to make sure I have.
Yeah, I have the answer for that.
Okay.
So it's same contract. It's I don't know, with Team Volusia, some others, I cannot remember them right. They were previously budgeted in non-departmental. And now we moved them to economic and that department.
They were
It just makes more
budgeted
sense.
where now?
Non-departmental charges.
Which would show up where in this book?
It would be another tab.
I got you. Okay, so there's a
So you will,
non-departmental tab.
yes, you will see decrease there, but increase in economic development.
Okay, perfect. Those are the kind of answers I would
And
love to hear.
I can prepare the list of those. It's actually all in detail. You will see which ones.
Okay.
But I can give you detail list.
Okay,
which
and
contracts.
that may be, and I'm okay, and I get it.
Mhm.
When you move stuff around, all of a sudden it shows this huge spike, and it's like, it really isn't. It's just a move.
It
So,
just has
yeah.
more logical
Yeah.
explanation.
Completely understand. Just have to ask, because again, sometimes the headline becomes 107% increase here, and no one asked that question, and so then the perception is. So, same in HR, I noticed like a 55,000 increase, same kind of line, consulting line. Is it a
Right.
similar situation? We're just consolidating it to the right place?
Right, we moved labor attorney cost there, plus
right.
all, when we do background check, fingerprints, everything now budgeted in HR department like it should.
Okay.
So it means those items were removed from individual departments.
Okay, thank you. The sports complex, and this is one that may be a deeper answer. We don't have to get to it today for sake of time, but I do want just somehow a kind of a rough, high-level accounting. Last year, we talked about, hey, we're going to do this turf. It's going to save us money. We're going to save personnel costs. We're going to save watering costs. We're going to save chemical costs. I get that there's calculus to it because at the same time, other costs are going up while those are going down. But I'd want to just make sure we didn't just roll forward those same costs that we had and they just kind of stayed in, even though we invested all this money and said we're going to capture those savings. So just want to make sure we didn't forget that. I know David's probably all over it, but I'd love to just, so I can be accountable to the public, say that we've done that. B and C. Oh, Brannon Center. So pretty big increase in Brannon Center expenses, it looked like. And again, would just like to try to understand that so I can explain it if asked. And I lost that tab, but anyway, if you can help me look at it. It may be offset by revenues. Again, I didn't have time to really dive in, so that may be the answer, is it's offset by revenues, but I didn't quite
Right,
see that.
Yes, we increase revenues because we expect more events, and as you know, our budget is balanced, plus so there is explanation.
Right. I mean, you would think at some point at the Brannon Center, the expenses are fairly fixed. You have some variable expenses, so as you increase you increase utilization, you'd expect there to be some expenses go up. But there's a ton of fixed expenses. So I would hope at some point we start seeing some margin on that.
But
I know
with each event here, there is more operating cost to it, like cleaning and such.
No, I
so-
get it. I mean, there are some variable costs, but surely we're charging enough to cover those. And then at some point, we've paid the rent, we've paid all the fixed costs, and so we should be realizing kind of pure margin, if you will, outside of one or two employees. So anyway, the marina, and we talked about this in another meeting, and I just want to make sure when we need to follow up. I noticed in the summary on the marina, it said there was a waiting list of, let me find that one because I want to make sure I get this right. So under their performance indicators, which I love, by the way, it said we have number of customers on waiting list for slips is 200 plus, 100 plus actual now, and we're thinking it's going to be 200 plus. When we looked at that when we last talked about the marina rates, we looked at that. I don't understand why we would be sitting on 100 plus and we're not even charging what I felt like were market rates. So is that something we address during budget time, or do we address that any time? When is the right time to reevaluate that?
We could adjust anytime, Mayor. There is no time to adjust, so we could adjust anytime during the year. But I think she looked at it when she first came in, that our rate was, I guess, it's within range. So I don't know. The last time we raised the fee, I think it was probably 4 or 5 years ago, if I recall. But we'll look at it again. By the way, just on a sad note, Tracy, the manager, she is resigning. due to some personal issues, family issues. So she will be with us until July 12th.
Okay.
And she will be in the area if we need any help, but
I hate to hear that, certainly.
Yeah.
I guess my thought is, I'm not advocating gouging by any stretch, but if I ran a marina and had a waiting list of 100+ people, probably be looking at my pricing, wondering if I could price a little bit more. So, I just, maybe when we get new leadership, they can put together a proposal and see if the commission has an appetite. If this is a real waiting list. Now, if it's just a list where everybody that has stopped by and asked for information, we've added them on a list, that's what I call fake waiting list. And then when you start calling those people and actually offering them the product, they say, no, I'm already booked here or there. If it's a true waiting list, which I'm guessing it may be, because I've heard marina space is hard to come by. People are, kind of fighting for marina space. So anyway, just, I think there's an opportunity there. Last question will be, are there any revenues, so like we're selling the building, the building and planning department, we're selling that building, I assume that will close, is that gonna be this year, or is that gonna be next year's budget when that will close?
I think the Katie is working on the contract. I don't know, did you come up with the date yet?
We're targeting September, early September to close, so I would say even if it's delayed, it should happen before October
Yeah.
1st, I would
Okay.
think.
So between that, we talked about Smith Street, I don't know what the commission's will is, but we've talked about a couple of these things. Are there potential revenues that are not in here, and is that standard? Is that how you do it in government, that you just kind of, I mean, in my old world, if we had a good idea we were gonna sell something, we'd budget that revenue and then kind of have some contingency, like, hey, this is what we're
Yeah.
gonna spend it on, so we had that plan.
No, that sale of the property is not part of the budget,
Okay.
which
Yeah.
is good.
So
was not
basically, if
included.
we end up selling a property, we just have that money available
Yeah,
to.
Right.
Where's it going, the general fund?
So the 2650, since it's already, the sale is there now, the Smith Street, I mean, we still have to put an RFP, and then we
Right.
have to sell it. So
That one
that's
will definitely
why
be next year. No-
it's
no-
really, it's hard to account for, but the one for 2650, obviously, if we sell it before the end of the year, for the 1.1 million, we probably have to just calculate the percentage on what goes into the building fund, and the rest of it will be go within the general fund.
Yeah, okay. So that was the last of my questions. Gentlemen, if you'll oblige me for just a minute more, because I'm not going to be able to join you all, as I mentioned, at the July 29th meeting to set that tentative date. So I just want to give you all, you're not bound to this, but just give you all my thoughts on it. I think I shared earlier, I like if we can find that sweet spot where we're not hitting rollback, but we're able to tell citizens your rate, you're within a few dollars here, up or down of what you paid last year. And we're using new growth and new construction and annexations, which we're getting more aggressive with, to fund some of these things. Like that's a great narrative. I've never had anyone push back on that narrative. Out of the unfunded things, the public's, look, I'm all about the I know we need all of these things. Pump house replacement, a lot of these things, some of which I have pushed and advocated for. The police officers, that has my utmost support. If we have to pull something else, and that is a recurring expense, by the way, most of the other ones are one time. If we have to pull something else, we've got to invest in that. I don't think we have an option, in my opinion. If it comes out of millage, I will stand in front of the people in New Smyrna and say, this is why your taxes went up by a few pennies, because we had to start not only getting more officers, but increasing pay as we did last year as well. And similarly in the firefighter situation, that one, it sounds like kind of an economics play that it makes sense to do. We're paying it right now in overtime. I don't know how those folks that are getting the overtime feel about this proposal, but from an economic standpoint, that feels like the right thing. So those have my full support, and I would be okay if we fund them out of either tweaking the millage up, or we find something else that, that has to go, we cut some other thing. The problem is most of the other things that it's a lot of capital outlay, so I don't know what you would, we'd have to find something each year to cut. So, The other things, I think we just have to wait. We have to keep seeking ECHO, or other funding sources for. So that's kind of my general thoughts. I'll review this book in depth. Thank you all for preparing it. And if I have any other questions, I'll just shoot it to you, Colin.
That's why we got number one on these, the first three items. Now, just to point out a few things. The grader, as I mentioned, right now, we lease the grader. So we have to have a grader whether we buy it or we lease it. And again, my recommendation is at this point, since the budget, it seems like it's full, we're trying to maintain some type of millage. We're adding a new police officers and a new firefighters, that we will lease the grader for 2 years at $45,000 a year, and then we could purchase it after, I guess, at the third year or at the end of the second year. So I just want to make sure that this would be in the budget. Somehow the lease will be there. The rest of the items, like, for example, the skate park, I mean, there's a potential there for an ECHO and also to use the Parks Impact fees. So we'll get some more information hopefully before the budget workshop on August, I think it's August 19th, Kelly, the workshop. So that's when we have all the departments, they come in, we'll have a whole day workshop to go through the budgets as you wish, with a line-by-line item, page by page, whatever.
Okay. Last thing, and I'll come to you. On the skate park, my memory is the same as Commissioner McGurk's. I know it's something that I've advocated for. I felt like that request, though, was the city's, and I feel like we even said, like, kind of a not to exceed, like, hey, I support this, but it was like 100, 125, something in that ballpark, and the rest was coming from, ECHO, fundraising, wherever that came from, sponsorships, so the other thing to think about on the skate park as it came up here is, I know several of us received independent, of course, we haven't talked about it and weren't in the same room, but discussions with the consultants on the Parks Master Plan yesterday. And so, it'd be interesting to see how this, is it the right move to try to do this where it is versus try to layer it into some other, bigger community park type plan. So we don't have to figure that out now because this doesn't seem like it's going to go forward in this format anyway. So.
But as I indicated yesterday, I will be discussing with Mark Galvin. So hopefully at either the 29th or the August 19th, I'll be able to provide some information about the master plan and then whatever we needed to go beyond that.
Okay. Commissioner Claudia, sorry.
As we went through our various departments, there was requests for increased personnel. And we also have positions that are vacant now. This budget funds the additional personnel as well as the unfilled positions, yes?
That's correct, yes. So that budget does
Okay.
include those
Thank
13
you.
new positions. Yeah.
My last question is our reserve funds. I would like a comparison as to how we started the year and how we expect to end the year. Could be in here, but I didn't read it yet. So I will be asking that question.
For general fund, currently we have $14 million reserve, which our fund balance, half of it is our required reserve, as you know, 25%. So with reserve, we're doing very good as of now.
Okay, you can
It's
just give me
something
those numbers later. I just want to make sure that doesn't get
Yeah.
lost along the way.
Yeah, Commissioner, we're doing okay there.
Okay. Never know when there's going to be another hurricane.
Exactly. It's a hurricane season now, so, but as of now, we're doing well.
Thank you.
And Mayor, if I may, that price tag, I don't know if it will, just for comparison reason, I should have mentioned, last year, that millage rate was $1.5 million, so it's less this year. So everybody were expecting probably higher this year, but in reality, last year was much better, $250,000 better.
Wait, run that.
You see
back
that
again.
millage
top
rate
number.
price tag increase, $1.2 million?
Yep.
That's this year, for tax roll 2021.
So meaning if I
Last
take the
year-
tax roll times,
Last year
millage
it was
rate.
higher. Last year it was $1.5 million. I think everybody under the impression that property values went significantly higher this year. It was higher actually last year. I don't know if it helps for anybody make a decision. I can send you information for that, because overall tax increase last year was $4,042 million. This year it's $3,058,000, somewhere there. So I don't know if I'm explaining it right.
Well,
so was you meaning the increase was less than the increase last year, or meaning net, like
Last year increase was higher than this year.
last year's increase was higher?
Mhm.
But from a raw current millage rate, we had 1.2 billion, is that,
Millions, it's in the millions.
what, sorry, 1,273,000,
Mhm.
and this year, that same number, or that's this number, last year, that number was 1.5.
0.5, yes. Mhm.
So we had more, ad valorem tax revenue last year than we are for this year.
Yes.
So the values.
That-
are
We
higher.
had increase higher last
Does
year.
it make sense?
Well, that's property, you know.
So increase was higher.
I'm not
I will try to
I'm not
put
gonna-
it in writing if you want me to, but it's just for comparison.
Yeah, no,
Comparison,
that's
it's
an
a big
interesting
deal.
tidbit. It doesn't, so first of all, from a tax standpoint, in this seat, that's not great. As a citizen, it's not great in some ways, but in other ways, it may pay off. But I tell you, the main thing, my confusion is it just doesn't jive with the market. Like, you talk to any real estate agent, and they're saying, look, the demand, homes are selling in 10 days or less, cash offers, values are going up, property appraisers can't even keep up, like the lending numbers don't match, so,
Do you
it just-
think,
it doesn't, I'm not questioning you, I'm questioning, like, something isn't connecting for me, so, yeah.
maybe homestead exemption has something to do with it?
Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
There's a lot of, my taxes have gone down. They can go up to 3%. Every year, my taxes drop a little bit.
Yeah,
Probably shouldn't have said that on the record.
that's good.
That's probably not gonna happen anymore now.
That's because we're doing such a good job managing,
Right.
We're gonna put
managing
you
the
in a
millage.
special assessment area.
Yeah, right?
And you see, of course, new construction provided additional tax base.
Yeah, no, I
So
get
real
that
truly
part.
increase, it's roll increase, it's on existing base. That's in existing homes already. That's why we do provide this breakdown.
All right, I may have to get with you.
Okay.
feel
I
like
will-
every
I
year
can
have to
send
get
you
a
calculations.
refresher on- Yeah, okay. Any other budget-related items? I think, Brian or Colin, did you have something else non-budget?
Yes,
Okay, we got a
please.
couple non-budget things. I'm gonna close the budget discussion if everybody's okay with that. Obviously, it's not the end of the budget, it's just the very beginning of it, so. All right, Kylie, go
I
ahead.
got, it's two items, Mayor. We'll go with the quick one on the dog park. We're Receiving quite a few phone calls and emails from residents around the dog park asking, what are we going to do? And I know Commissioner McGurk has been dealing with one of the property owners that are just adjacent to the park. But I'm recommending tonight, and I will do it unless if you have an issue with it, I wanted to close the dog park temporary until we figure out what we needed to do, unless if you have a problem with that. So that's one issue on the dog park.
Under those circumstances, I think that's a good idea. And I can certainly give me a little more time to talk with the neighbors in the area without them being so emotional and intense about it. That's actually a good idea.
I support that. I do think that you should post it out there and give people a week's notice saying the park will be closed on such a date. Or else you're going to have a whole
we'll
nother
post it,
group of
yes.
people calling.
We'll post it.
I drove all the way to the dog park. Yeah, I just want to clarify, I had some conversations after the last meeting, and there was, Yeah, there was contact made. Some of the people that are now complaining, they weren't as caught by surprise as they might present to us here. And I just want that to be stated, that we're often cast as having completely come up short and sidewinded everything and blindsided everyone, but there's two sides to all the stories. I don't really care to debate it. I want to try to fix it and make it work for everyone, but I just feel like that has to be said, so I'll say it now, and then I won't say anymore. All right?
Okay, so
Thanks, Don.
I will post it and give him maybe a grace period, so give him a few days, and then we'll close it off temporarily. The second item is the dock ordinance, the 1,000 square feet. We have a concern about the draw on, we kind of limit the draw on 4 foot. There's questions about what happens if you have a sailboat that draws 6 or 7 feet. We had a discussion with Commissioner McGurk. He's been getting quite a few phone calls, and I would let him speak to that. But we're trying to see if we could pause on the ordinance for a minute. I think Brian was planning on taking it to the Planning and Zoning Board on the 12th. I think we're gonna try to pause on that, not to do it until we have discussion. Obviously, tonight you cannot make any votes on this, but if you could just have the discussion, so we could maybe bring it back on the 29th. It's a special meeting. If we need to, you could make a vote on that meeting. So Commissioner McGurk, if you wanna elaborate on that, please.
Apparently, I'm too reachable, I think. Now these are all on me. So, I did talk to Khalid. I have talked to some people, reached out to me. And I guess I kind of want to bring this thing full circle as to where I'm at with this. It was brought to my attention by a number of people who are very upset about what has happened. They're upset that they were never notified. They're upset that their values have decreased potentially by hundreds of thousands, and in this market, maybe 1 million. After thinking about the idea of the 4 feet initially by Commissioner Colodi, I thought that would initially think, hey, that's not so bad. That gives us some room. I've talked to a few people and had some time to think about it. And the bottom line is, I think we're taking a relatively basic problem and issue, and we're overthinking it and overcomplicating it. My recommendation is we go back to the recommendation by staffer number 1. Remember, we changed something that wasn't broken necessarily, and we've now created a big problem. I would like to see us go back to where we were for the most part, adopt that, and we can spend as much time as we want figuring out whether or not there's anything that needs to be done. There's people who are very upset. And at this point, if we can't seem to figure out a good way to handle this, and my idea that I just proposed is what I think makes the most sense. And when we do start changing things that take something away from people, the city can notice them. We'll make it a point to notice them of what's actually going on with their properties. Because it's made very clear to me that people are going to be very unhappy with the way this is going. Many people will not get their docks back. So, I mean, at 4 feet, you're going to walk out onto your dock maybe a quarter of the way, maybe half the way. Then you're going to have the determination of low tide, and low tides are not all the same. So there's a lot of confusion, and I think that at the very least, without any other major problems, as I think there would be, the resident is going to be very lost and confused by this, and it has a lot of rightness for confusing interpretation by homeowners and staff. So it all sounds great when we're all sitting here at a table and we have the staff that has done it. 5 years down the road, I foresee that a problem. So that's my recommendation. I'm going to start recommending that these people who are contacting me start reaching out to you all. They're going to pack this room, something similar to what happened with some recent events. So maybe that's my recommendation. But I think we need to slow this down and make it easier than more complicated.
Mr. Mayor, if we could get all the people who are calling Commissioner McGurk in a room, and get all the people that have thanked me for the changes in the same room, let them see how it is, how difficult it is. Because you're right, it's a difficult issue. And we have difficult frontages on different areas, so I would go back to the way it was and leave it at that. For
So
discussion on the 29th.
I didn't support the 4-foot rule either for a very number of reasons. It's an arbitrary number, and depending on where you are and tides and whatever, it's just, it creates more complications for staff. And it's a never-ending thing with shoaling and everything else. It's a hard thing. We need to limit the dock space, count the walkway, don't count the walkway, half the walkway, you know, as simple as possible is, I think, is the way that we need to go with this. When you start adding all of these variables in, it just creates areas for people to argue with you. Go, well, it's not really, it's 47 inches, it's not 48 inches, you know? So it's like, the simpler the better for me. So the original I thought we were all in agreement with was 1,000 square feet and didn't include the walkway. I thought at that meeting, we all kind of had an agreement with that, so.
And that was at the workshop.
That was at the workshop.
We brought it to a vote, and it went sideways.
So,
No, us.
so I'm comfortable with the old language the way it was. That's already been presented and been through P and Z and put this thing to bed.
Brian, that was option 1, if I recall? Option 1. Okay. And can you just briefly, I don't want to put you on the spot.
So I'm hearing 3 for option 1 before you go any further. I just heard 3 folks for option 1, so
I'm
just.
just going to be quiet.
Just
Good
stop-
point, Mayor. Good
Stop,
point.
stop selling when you've sold. I'm just saying.
Right, of course.
Yeah, my only, Brian and I talked about this, my only feedback was, so the only comment that I would take a bit of an issue with is when you said we didn't have a problem, or I don't remember exactly how you phrased it, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but some of the extent of, there wasn't an issue. What prompted all of this, the only reason I have thought about dock size in New Smyrna in the past 25 years I've lived here was when somebody tried to build a bridge across the North Causeway up here, and we all went, hey, what just happened? And so that's when I started calling staff saying, hey, what are the rules about this, and who does control that, and what can we do to make sure this doesn't happen again? So in all of this, I haven't really sought to try to overcomplicate. I certainly don't want to take away an existing property owner's right if they have something out there. So my kind of compromise position to try to say to the people that were blowing up my phone when that dock was going in, saying, what are you going to do about it? And I had to tell all them, out of our hands, state approved it, we got no rules on the books, there's nothing we can do. So to that contingent, I want to be able to say, we've done our job, we heard you, and we put things in place to fix that. So, my solution was, can we provide a grandfathering provision to say, look, if you've got it now, you're grandfathered in. I'm not taking away anything you've got right now, but we want to make sure we protect this aesthetic moving forward. So we've instituted some things, and maybe we get away from the 4 feet, 6 foot. I mean, we had some philosophical debates on, what if somebody has, they want to dock the maiden of the sea out there, at what point do they have the right to dock however big of a boat it is, so I don't have answers to all those questions. So I could get a little less restrictive. I think grandfathering, saying 1,000-foot maximum, excluding the walkway, but if the walkway is over a certain distance, then you get, there's a little bit of a penalty on the dock size. You can only get 600 square feet if you have over 500 square feet of walkway or something. So we're not taking away anyone's rights if they have it today. We're putting some constraints around for the future, and we're saying we've addressed the issue. So, but you had 3 that said we're going to go option 1. So that's what I've heard from the commission. So
Okay, quick clarification. The manatee protection, adoption of the manatee protection program is what did the limit of the 1,000 square feet. It didn't have anything to do with the dock. I don't know if that's what you were trying to say. I just wanted to clarify. I'll go back to my original point. The only time I've ever heard a complaint was from a specific neighborhood, Venetia, because of the unique way it's laid out. Grandfathering people in is very complicated also, because it's like, what was there, what wasn't.
We
Well,
talked about
I
that,
had
yeah.
this, and,
Yeah.
but the
yeah,
staff
what was
didn't have
permitted,
that.
Not permitted.
We talked about that.
Right,
Yes,
so,
you're right.
anyway, we need to give staff direction, and I want to stop, I mean, we can either put it on hold, and we can let the community get a hold of this and make a circus out of it, or we can get at least 3 people to move forward with staff to bring it back to us with the intent of adopting something. So, that's what I would like to see.
And I heard support from 3 of you for option 1. So I just wanted to make my case to say if there's room for middle ground, but if there's support for option 1, and then we can further that debate some other time. It's not something I'm extremely passionate about, but I do want to be able to tell residents, because I didn't hear from just one resident on that. I mean, on that one dock, I was getting calls from, that bothered me, and I don't live anywhere near that dock.
The whole city was upset about that.
Yeah.
I think everybody in this room
Yeah.
thought that was an albatross.
Right.
But we're going too far the other way.
I
And
hear
when
you.
we try to
Yeah.
thread the needle down the middle, it seems to create more problems.
Yeah.
When we try to fix something,
Yeah.
a lot of times it creates a lot more problems. As in, we'll see what the parking workshop we're coming up with.
So maybe we should push it to the state and the federal level and let them really mess it up.
No,
That
the
raises
state's too busy telling us how to manage code enforcement, so.
Gentlemen, that raises a question which maybe can be answered now. Did the state not mandate us to have a certain size or give guidance for us?
Well, you use 2 words, a mandate and a guidance. Those are different.
Either
State did
or,
not
did
mandate
they,
anything.
either or?
So, we adopted the manatee protection program. And I don't want to get into all that because I have a funny feeling most of the county council doesn't know that about their own manatee protection program. And when I spoke to experts, the justification for limiting the dock size to 1,000 square feet, they weren't familiar with, they didn't agree with. So, and these were experts that you would know well. So I don't want to get into the whole manatee, I was just giving the history of how we ended up with it. So I don't want to go down the whole idea of what the science is behind it, because I wouldn't trust, I'm not so sure that that is
Yeah.
based on anyway.
And at this point, I guess, I have my thoughts, you have your thoughts, but from what I'm hearing, we're not in the majority. We got 3 commissioners that have said they would support, I believe, if staff brought back option 1. So I can continue to try to make my case, you can continue to try to make yours, but that's what I've heard, so
It's unfortunate, it's not just the manatee, it's our whole ecosystem that's in jeopardy. I don't think there's much debate there. You may have other source. It appeared from our previous discussions that our sources relay different things. Things like the length of piers, things like the distance of the height of the pier to the water. And so I wonder if we should take the time to do it justly. I don't want us to be the city that just disregarded any good guidance on doing both, providing good piers for your residents and enabling the environment to thrive or to come back somehow. Not rushing.
I'm all for sitting down and spending as much time as you would like to figure out what would work best for this community. But that comes after we redo a mistake that I believe we did. So my point was, let's go back to where we were, and then if you want to hash out and take that cause on to determine what steps we can take and adopt in the future, that would make sense with that. I'm perfectly fine with that.
It's possible that when all these piers were built in the old days, their guidance wasn't used, and some were built without permits, some didn't use best practices. I understand now that building 5 feet above the water, your deck, above high tide, is what is considered proper. It sheds enough light to the
Right, but the point I'm gonna make
Yes.
is, and I apologize, Mayor, I'm just gonna make,
Yeah, we're,
so then is the manatee protection program's position on the square footage of dockage irrelevant if the dock is built at 5 feet?
it's,
higher.
I don't think it's considering the manatee, that's separate.
But my point is, no, so my point is, there's a lot of science to figure out here. So what I'm saying is, let's go back to where we were, and then we can spend as much time as we want trying to determine what the best practices are that we as a city would like to follow. And then more importantly, we better notify the residents when we affect their property by hundreds of thousands of dollars, because what I want to make a point of is, the lawyers are coming next.
Yeah. All right, Brian, I think you got your just consensus. I think you got the support of the three. And I'm not saying there's not maybe a time and a space. What I've heard from the two of you is maybe, there's science and there's a time and a space for that debate. It's just not right now. Kelly?
Just for clarification for the minutes, do you want, consensus was to bring back the option 1 as an ordinance, August 10th? Is the August 10th meeting?
I mean, I don't, we gave staff direction of what to bring back to, P and Z.
Yep, so since P and Z has already approved that, we can
It
go
doesn't have to
straight
go
to
to
a
P and Z.
commission agenda.
We can come back to us, yeah.
Mhm.
All right. So consensus was to bring option 1 back to the commission. You can put in the minutes, considerable debate ensued. Mayor shut it down. No. All right. Anything else, Callie?
Thank you.
Thank you. Kelly, anything else? Brian? Carrie? Gentlemen? All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you all.